You sit on the toilet, don't you? Use that as your meditation.
Not my wife, not your wife, nor anybody listening to this podcast has eaten a shit sandwich.
Welcome to Recovery Unfiltered. I'm Larry. I'm an alcoholic.
I am Rob. I am also an alcoholic. We are not professionals. There are no letters after our names. We know very little. However, you will hear the word God and a four-letter word in the same sentence. You will also be offended.
Rob, we may have to redo this thing.
Offended, just pass us by. This podcast is not for you.
Our opinions are just that. If you don't agree with what we're saying, that's okay. We're going to love you anyway.
Probably not.
We are not in any way affiliated with AA.
So sit back, grab a beverage of your choice, and get ready.
Let's go. Hi, Rob.
What's happening, buddy?
Welcome back.
Hey, we might have to redo that.
I've been told we need to redo that so many times, but
But you just joined two of them, the two that we've done.
I kind of did. I kind of just farted around with it, but we've had But
then again, like me and Johnny were just singing that old Dr. Pepper jingle from back in the 80s, and word for word, people get used to.
Wouldn't you like to
people get used to hearing something, and
you
they
know,
oh, here we go.
Here's the thing: I could tell you about every podcast I listen to. I fast forward through it anyways.
There you go.
Bang, bang. You know, you got the little 15-second jumps. You hit it once and you're through it.
You're into the topic.
Right. And you get past it. Yeah. I normally, so us doing the effort of going back and doing and changing everything, I don't know, man. People hear it and they recognize, hey, that's Rob and Larry. Them stupid little fuckers. God, I got to stop cussing so much. I know Tammy.
I got to get my grammar fixed.
We'll be fine.
Me and Larry been down to the river. Jesus,
how y'all doing today?
That's John.
How come when our language is bad, we use a southern accent? Like the people in the south are dumber than us over here in the west.
Tammy said to never stop cussing and using the F word because we did the whole episode on the F bomb. But when Katie was listening to this one, she's like, "Why are you saying that word so much?" But we were pretty wound up on that episode.
Not the one that you're going to hear.
Right, yeah. Episode 31. But they 31. Loved it.
She said she needed a laugh, and that she laughed.
That was a fun episode.
Doug laughed at it.
Doug did. He goes, "That was one of the funnest ones we've had." I think that was number 31.
I was wound up though.
We both were.
We were wound up.
We were wound up. It's
I didn't
okay.
have
I still haven't had my surgery yet.
I know. Hey, we got to talk to Dr. Pepper. That old lady you cussed at, she's got you.
And, you know,
she's got you hobbled is what she got.
Here's the thing, and I keep saying this, and I'm going to go back to this. Listen, I don't believe God punishes us. I don't. I'm a firm believer in that.
We do that ourselves.
With you 1,000%. But I will guarantee you he's teaching me a lesson.
Oh, yeah.
He is teaching me a lesson. Guaranteed.
Oh, yeah. He what does it say?
You have
the sons that he loves.
Yeah.
He disciplines the sons that he loves. We get disciplined.
The pain that I have when I drive, and I drive a lot, and I'm on a plane a lot, that the pain that I have every time that goes shooting through me, I just sit there and go, "This is all you, Larry." Mm-hmm. You just sit there, shut up,
you just had to call her a fucking bitch.
You're going to take every ounce of this, so take it. And you know what? I don't even get frustrated anymore with that pain. I kind of laugh when I did because I just flew back from Arizona, and it's only about an hour and 20-minute flight, hour and 30. Actually, it was San Diego. Sorry. It was an hour and 20-minute flight. And the minute I sat down, the pain was just incredible. And I was just bouncing back and forth, and all I could do was laugh at it. I'm like, what am I going to do? I can't do anything. And it's my fucking fault.
Yes. That's all right.
1,000%. Shut my mouth.
Did you learn something from it?
Damn right I did.
Learn from it, grow from it, and we move on, and you won't repeat it. So that's good.
You know what?
You hope you won't repeat it.
Right. And expect the unexpected. Right. Because it's still there. Right. Expect it, because that came at me so unexpected that it caught me off guard.
That's one of those things that I've talked about before, where it's already come out of your mouth before you even realize what you said. You didn't even process it. It just,
I didn't.
Boom.
It was old behavior.
0 to 100. Like that. Old behavior. Boom.
Yep.
Crops up.
1,000% old behavior.
No alcohol needed.
Nope.
Old behavior. That's tell you so alcohol. Yeah. The problem.
And immediately I felt like shit. But after it was too late.
But it was the cannon ring the bell.
What do they say? You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube.
Have you ever tried to do that? It's like
you know what you could do
next. It's like having sex with a limp Peter. What do you need, a shoehorn out of that? It's not gonna work. Stop it.
God damn it, Rob.
Just go have a cup of coffee because
if you felt terrible immediately, why didn't you make amends immediately?
Why didn't you make amends immediately?
Well, we talked about this because as I walked out, right, because I grabbed my shirt.
He was still pissed.
I was pissed until the door shut behind me. And then as soon as I got out in the lobby and that door shut behind me, I was like, what the fuck did I just do? And at that point, it was too late.
Yeah, so the next time that happens, what are you going to do?
Before you leave the doctor's office.
Before you even leave the doctor's office.
Well, how am I supposed to know what to do? Well, first and foremost, I'm not going to, I will double check my ass before I walk into any room, right? But we talk about this, be prepared for the unexpected, be prepared for that drink sits down in front of you at a bar, right? I guess. I don't recommend anybody sitting at the bar. I talked about that the last episode and I wanted to clarify something.
Lay it down.
I don't recommend if you are a recovering alcoholic.
Recovered
alcoholic.
Which means you've worked your steps and had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps. You have recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of body and mind.
I don't recommend anybody going to sit at a bar like I explained that I do.
But again,
I don't
why
have
take
a
up a whole
problem.
booth if you're one dude?
Yes.
I go to the bar too and eat.
But some people can't do. Some people
Why?
still because they're uncomfortable.
Because they have an alcoholic mind. The book says.
Well, okay, but some people are uncomfortable sitting at a bar.
Go ahead. You're right.
Right. Some people are uncomfortable. That's not that they have an urge for it. They just don't. I don't have any purpose sitting at that bar. Right. I have no purpose except to eat.
Yeah.
People sit at a bar to drink alcohol. Right.
Really?
That mind, I always feel guilty about sitting at a bar. I may be taking up somebody's spot that wants to have a couple drinks. I feel guilty, but I also feel guilty about taking up a whole fucking booth and I'm by myself.
We need to do some step works on this guilt bullshit.
Oh, I don't have a lot of guilt. I just, I'm
well, you just said you feel guilty here. You feel guilty there. Fuck them people. Have a drink or eat. They can sit next to you or they can wait till I'm done.
He just told you to have a drink.
I just try to be
ginger. They know they can sit next to you and have a drink.
I try to be courteous.
Oh wait, you know what? You could go have a Roy Rogers.
You know what? Here's the thing.
What's that fucker's horse's name anyway?
Trigger. Hey,
there are no such things.
Somebody said,
go ahead.
Larry, you know what? You just have a club soda when we were talking about carry your Yeti around with you, and I say, I ain't carrying my Yeti around with me because I don't want people thinking what I may have something inside that drink.
Who cares what people think?
Well, okay.
But go ahead.
But here's the thing, and I do think about this a lot, right? Not a lot. This comes across. I carry AA pretty openly, right? Pretty openly. I'm sober out fucking loud. Yeah. I don't have any. Now, I want to clarify something. I don't go around beating on a tom-tom, right? I don't stand in the middle of the beer aisle at the grocery.
Drum.
Right. I don't stand in the middle of the beer aisle at the grocery store and go, you shouldn't be drinking that. I don't give a fuck whether you drink or not. I'll buy you a drink. I don't give a fuck whether you drink or not.
But you're sober out loud.
I'm sober out loud.
Right.
And if somebody's got a problem, talk to me. We'll go find a quiet corner and we'll talk. We'll go over it. But I'm not going to be standing inside of a bar preaching about alcoholism. That's not what I'm talking about whatsoever. No. But when I
get thrown out.
My point is I don't want to be drinking a club soda with a lime in it, and a person that I've given amends to across the other side of the bar has seen me drink a soda water, and in their mind they're going, that fucker's over there drinking again, right? Because they don't fucking know. I'm not going to give them the opportunity to think that way.
I got you. Okay.
If I'm going to drink a soda, it's going to say Pepsi right on that motherfucker, right? Or if I'm going to drink an iced tea, or it's going to say Gold Peak tea right on it. I'm not going to give them an opportunity. I don't want somebody because there's still some people that want me to fail.
Oh
right?
yeah. Fuck
there's
a lot
bunch of people out there want me.
And most of them are drunks.
Yeah. There is a bunch of people that I had to make amends to that still want to see me fail, right? I promise that. And I don't have a problem with that. I'm not going to give them pricks the satisfaction of having a chance to say, see, look, there he is. He's back to it.
All them fucking tattoos.
All them tattoos, all that preaching, all that. Look at it.
Change the date on that tattoo. He's drunk again.
You talk about holding your own self accountable. Put your sober date on your arm.
Yeah. Fuck. You talk about putting a bullseye. I can't wait for that pick to drink.
I don't give a fuck. I ain't coming.
My wife has an uncle. He had been married 3 times. Wife's name had like a big void. Yeah. Void. He tattooed void over it. Jesus.
Oh my God.
Johnny.
Anyways, welcome back, brother.
I have one. We didn't get into this last time, which I wanted to, and I listened to our podcast again, preparing for this one. I had asked you a question about God, and you'd only answered the first part of it.
Well, that's what happens when you give somebody ADHD with ADHD, two-part questions. You may only get one part answer, right?
So you had a resentment.
So yes, you if I remember correctly, your question was, did I believe and did I have a hard time with that?
The higher power.
With the higher power part of it, right? So, yes, I do believe. I went over that last time. When I got sober and got here, and I started doing that step work, I realized that, one of my biggest resentments was towards that higher power, God. I choose to call God. And it went all the way back from, okay, why did you do this to me? Right. In the beginning, it was like, why did you do this to me? And
we say do this, like,
take your mother away. Why take your mother away from me? Why couldn't you help my dad? Why couldn't you do this? And why didn't you do that? If you're this God, you have all of this power, why did you do all this? And it was, and I was really resentful towards all of that. It wasn't until I read and understood the book of Job when in the Old Testament, and God doesn't do things to you. He may allow things to happen.
Oh yeah.
Right. Because if you believe in God,
yes,
yin and yang, good and bad, black and white, if there is a good, then there is an evil. Right. So
there has to be an opposite of everything.
There has to be an opposite. Absolutely. There has to be an opposite of everything. And so this.
And why would a good God allow bad things to happen to good people? Right.
Well, right. That's where it goes back to where everything that happened led me up to where I am today. I believe that in the beginning, that every single one of those things had to happen, right? To set in motion to lead me up to all of the bad decision making that I was doing, right? And then I had to, to get me to where I was, when I was just broken, defeated, and absolutely willing to just be raw and give it all up.
Did you have an original belief in Christ? I'm growing up,
or God, period.
Or God, period.
Higher power.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, I did.
You had a good knowledge of.
But the God that I believed in at the time was that fire and brimstone. You're going you're going to hell. There's there's only one way to get to heaven, and by God.
And then the preacher telling you, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. And by the time I was 13, 14 years old, I could remember that son of a looking at me and basically saying, and young man, if you think about it, it's just as bad as doing it. Like, son of a bitch. I've been thinking about touching that thing for 10 years, man. What are you talking about? So I might as well do it. And I find out if I'm going to hell anyway, just for thinking of it, I might as well enjoy the ride, baby. And here I go.
Yeah, and that's where it was. I mean, I'm not going to heaven anyway. Right.
That's why you did think.
Yeah. Fuck it. I'm not going to heaven anyways. And then the only time that I did pray was those 911, you get me out of this one.
And
I'll never do it again.
And then
oh God, a bunch of times I got out of that shit, or, the accidents, or, the getting shot, or all of the other shit that happened.
Don't see, just like you shared yesterday, we don't see his hand.
Right.
We're not looking for it, one.
Because we
don't recognize it, two.
So
we're so.
To answer that question, yes.
Ahead,
Dad. So I don't forget again, to answer that question, yes, God was on my original resentments list.
He should be. A lot of guys. And he should have been.
And yeah,
a lot of people had that, John. A lot of people feel that resentment towards God.
But it was never really his fault.
No,
right? That comes into that, 3 years sober, that epiphany that I had looking in the mirror that day going, whoa, dude, you're really not a victim.
That's what we talked about.
Okay, hold on. We talked about a little denial last
podcast. Yeah,
but that's also a victim mentality.
Yeah, that's that victim mentality too, right? Like where everything happened for a reason, but look at the man that I am today. Like if each one of those things wouldn't have happened, even when I was doing messed up stuff, when I was under the influence, the fighting, the arguing in the relationships and that kind of stuff. Going back to, what I watched when I was a kid, and all of those things that I thought were normal. I just thought everybody did that. I didn't realize that, your dad didn't, whatever. And
that was dysfunction.
You
lived in dysfunction thinking it was function.
I need to make this perfectly clear about my father. I loved that man. I looked up to him. Yeah. He was a very sick individual, and I still try to teach my children, especially my boys, a lot of the things that he taught to me, just in a much different manner.
Right.
Right. The work ethic, the love, and yeah, just a lot of that.
A lot of
So,
do as I
yeah.
say, not as I do.
That's
Sure.
exactly right. And literally, that's one of the other things he used to say to me. Do as I say, not as I do.
But we don't do that. We repeat actions.
Right.
So yeah, and then I turned into that. I turned into exactly what I didn't want to.
And your father, you mean?
Being that, because I said last time,
Doug had said the same thing.
Right.
I turned
Pat said
exactly
the same thing, didn't he?
Yeah.
Pat said the same thing.
I had grown up saying I'm never going to be that.
Right.
I'm never going to become that. I'm never going to become that. And I became that and then some, because I wasn't working where he always held a job, and, there was all of that stuff. And then all the way to, I was everything that he was and then some, that the yets that he had, I started accomplishing.
We're going to talk some more about those yet.
But yet you turned, okay. Because the one thing we all know the one thing I disagree with is when people say,
I was waiting for you to come back here. I was going to bring this up. I wasn't going to let that
this
go.
had to happen. No,
Right.
It didn't. It didn't have to happen. That
You know
way.
what,
No,
Rob?
I didn't say, I don't mean that it had to happen.
Right. But
it did happen.
It did happen.
It did happen.
Choices we made happened.
Right.
And it did happen, and it made me the person that I had, that I am today.
When you turn those happenings over to God, when we came to the rooms of AA, what the book says, and we turned, as we turned our will and life over to the care of God, here, this is what I am. This is what I've done. What can you do with this? Let me show you, son.
Right.
Because I've seen what you can do with it, John. I've seen, Rob, what you can do with it, and just going to keep continuing to make these bad decisions. But here's what I can do with it. A lot of people don't turn those over to God, and they continue to make those. But it didn't have to happen.
You know what, though?
Choices.
I think you're doing, Rob, and I'm going to, because I've talked about this. And I'm going to play little devil's advocate here. What you're saying is it didn't have to happen, right? It didn't have to.
No.
And you're 1,000% correct.
Correct.
It didn't have to.
God could have got
There's
me
a lot
here.
of things that didn't have to happen.
Correct.
There's a lot of things that didn't have to happen. I think what John is saying,
I
because
know what
I
you're
have
saying.
I have said it myself. I
Correct.
needed to go through the things I went through
Exactly.
to be the man I am, right? Did I have to be mean to certain people? No, I didn't have to be, right? I didn't have to be. Did I have to do the things I did? I didn't have to. Did I have to hurt the people I hurt? No, I didn't have to, but I did.
You did.
Right?
And when
in
you turn-
order for me to stop hating me, to do the amends I had to have, that I had to do my own amends to myself, I had to come to the realization, because of those struggles, because of that stuff that I did, it made me here.
It
got
took
me
a certain
here.
amount of pain for me to finally break. I get that. The only reason I critique people on this is because I want you to be careful.
Right.
Because when you say I had to do this to get here,
That-
you're making God
Right.
the author of your evil,
Right.
which is not His fault.
You're right on that
That's
one.
all I'm going to be careful.
But there's a
And
fine
for us to
line
take-
there. There's a line there.
But we must take ownership of our
Yes,
shit
I-
and not blame Him for it.
But
I had to accrue a certain amount of pain
Yes.
for me to be broken.
Right.
That's true.
That is
It
true.
took what it took.
Yeah. So, anyways,
That's all-
I
that's
just
all-
wanted
That's all I'm being
we
careful
go
about.
through
What's
this
crazy
topic.
is I'm sitting here between you, and I agree with both of you, right? I mean,
And I know what people are saying when they say that,
Right.
but I don't think they realize what they're saying is, like the
we
general,
learn lessons by our mistakes.
we should.
If you don't, you're an idiot.
We didn't up until the point we were in enough pain.
No. And you're right. You're right.
We didn't learn-
But going through the shit that I went through, looking back, I can tell you, there's another thing I want
There's
to bring
people
up.
that are going through bullshit like we went through
Right.
that are not going to learn from it. They're not going to.
They will.
and they're
They
gonna,
will.
They may. When they're going to. And I know a lot of guys that have died.
Yes.
Before they got.
Yes.
that's where insanity
They-
comes in,
they've
right?
died.
Yes.
Insanity,
Yes, John.
doing the same thing over and over again,
Right.
expecting a different
Yes.
result.
But
But you can't blame God for that because
no,
they never turned it over.
I never blame God for
But
anything.
when people say, I had to go through A, B, and C for God to get me to here, to be the man I am today, what
I've
you're
never
saying
used
is,
that. You're right.
every step that I took, every word that I spoken has already been written down in some
Right.
fucking book, and there's no free will.
Right.
Bullshit.
No.
There is. We make choices.
Sorry, John. I think we derailed you.
No.
We're absolutely accurate.
Right. No. I just,
just
because
even- words matter.
it does, Rob, it does. Words matter. And trust me, I live that daily because So I even brought that into a meeting I just.
And if you don't hold the alcoholic accountable,
yes,
they're going to denial. They're going to find avenues of here and there where it's God's fault. It's
Ways
his fault.
out.
No.
Right.
Own your fucking shit.
Right.
And don't blame God for it.
Right.
Period.
So
Go ahead, Dan.
there's two parts to that,
Lay it
right?
down.
So there's the early stages of that where I had absolutely no part in any of that. I
Correct.
didn't have any part of my mom dying or my dad being an alcoholic
Absolutely.
or
Me being
some
molested,
of the stuff
absolutely.
like that. But then at a certain point,
Right.
at a certain point, everything I became responsible for the things that I was doing. Right.
Yep.
So I still say, in my opinion, is that I still went through everything that I went through to become the person that I am today. Mm-hmm. Some of it, I don't think that had I not gone through those things, that I would be where I'm at today. And that's just my personal belief. Right. Mm-hmm. And even with a lot of the poor choices that I made while under the influence, right. Whether I was even recognizing that I was making those choices at the time or not, because there's blocks of years that I don't remember. Like I can't tell you anything that happened good in 1992 or bad, period. Like I don't remember the year. 1997, also an entire blur.
When you guys and you and Pat were talking about that at the men's group, I went home and I started looking at some of the things. I started looking at some of the pictures, and I went back to one of my Navy times.
And then you realized that
92 to 94.
You realize that you don't remember. There's stuff in there that you don't remember.
Singapore, Hong Kong, Japan. Oh shit! I'm looking at these pictures. I know where I was at. Okay, I can't remember. Damn, I don't remember.
Yeah. Right.
Son of a bitch.
Son of a bitch, right?
I know I had a good time. I think, you think, but
didn't catch anything.
So
not a damn thing.
So, just to enlighten everybody, we were talking about blackouts in a meeting. Like you're coming in. We were talking about blackouts in a meeting. And
not necessarily blackouts, but just time. I don't remember.
See, I don't have any of that.
Most of the 90s were a blur for me. So if there's anybody out there and something happened and it was in the 90s, man, I may or may not know I did that. So if you didn't get an amends, I truly apologize because I don't even remember.
There was something, you said something too. Well, we were going to talk about yets, right?
Yes.
I want to get into that yets, but I mean, I wanted to make sure
you have a lot of them.
I don't know.
He put down his shovel way sooner than we did.
It's, you know what?
God bless him.
Yeah, and I did. And
did it, but you did and didn't.
And you're right, because I'd done a lot of damage.
Right.
I'd done a lot of damage internally in my house.
But the yets we're talking about, some people never got a DUI. They never, lost a marriage. They never destroyed a, there's a
But I'm going to tell you right now, I never lost a marriage, but you know what? And I listened to a couple things recently, and why it's pulled up on my algorithms is beyond me, why this has started happening. But I was listening to Jordan Peterson speak, and he was talking about how you have to lose, how a marriage most of the time has to split apart for it to come back together and be healed up. And Katie and I got into a great conversation yesterday, and I know how it got there, and I'm not going to go down that, but Katie and I are able to talk and have conversations now that we've never in the 30 plus years, we got married in 91. So it's 33 years, 30, whatever, that we've been married. And we have better conversations now than we ever have in the entire time. And if you take the period of time that I was at Alcoholic, that we were separated, emotionally separated, right? Mm-hmm. And now emotionally I'm coming back, and emotionally I think she's coming back, because emotionally she was done with the marriage too, right? We weren't physically separated, but we were emotionally separated. I mean, emotionally, I had checked out.
Yeah, because who wants to be with an alcoholic? So that's why she now, you say sometimes it doesn't bother you, but when she was having more intimate conversations with the dogs,
right,
than with you,
she's gonna hate
because
me.
You were Who wants to talk to us?
Right.
Selfish, self-centered, egotistical.
Right. She's
Larry wants to talk to himself.
Yeah. Well, he does. He eats Cheetos up here.
God damn it.
Well, like the meme that I sent yesterday. Yeah. Larry gets kidnapped, and 4 hours later. Yeah, 4 hours later he gets returned.
Hey, I'm going to tell you right now.
Hearing him talk about sobriety.
You can talk to Rob not last night, but
last night. So,
but hold on, this is going to drop a week after that.
Oh,
when I spoke at Living Sober,
yeah.
I literally, I don't know, I turned around and I looked, and I'd been talking for 45 minutes, and I was like, fuck, I haven't even begun to start. I was just getting warmed up.
Well, Priscilla goes, hey, 30, because it's a birthday.
It's a birthday speaker.
You know, if it's about the birthdays, and she goes, a half hour. And I said, Larry, hear that half hour? He goes, you can't put a time on perfection, the time limit on perfection. And he meant, she thought he was joking. I said, baby, he ain't joking.
He ain't joking. He
shit.
can literally talk to
means
himself
that
for 4
shit to
hours straight.
Every fiber of his being, to the core of his, the core of his soul. That's he's getting ready to go lay down some perfection up here.
I love to speak, man. You know what? Like I said, I have a blast doing it. I feel, that's why we go into the jail.
Don't muzzle an ox when he's treading out the grain, the Bible says.
Yeah, you want to hear a funny one? I went to go into the jail, and I go in the first Wednesday every month. They wouldn't let me in jail.
Well, it's because you don't know how to know when your fucking pass expires.
But it was still funny. Like they wouldn't let me in. I went to go in.
They're not going to let you in without a valid pass.
They didn't tell me my pass was expired, but still.
Smack a cop.
Do you know when your driver's license expires?
Yeah, it tells me.
On the birthday?
Yeah.
On your birthday?
When I remember,
blaming other people, John.
On my birthday, no, I did. I gapped it. Matter of fact, when I sent the email to the jail, I'm like, boy, my how time flies when you're having fun or something like that. I was just like, sorry, man.
Actually, you reminded me to check mine because mine came up. I got my pass shortly after yours.
Yeah, because when they let us back in after COVID, I was one of the first ones back in. Right. So I wasn't even thinking about it. I was honestly thinking it was in February or March when we did our annual stuff that we have to do.
That's the Prius stuff.
Yeah, the Prius stuff. So
there's a yet. No one fights each other's Johnny's first yet, trying to get back into jail.
Right.
Fighting to get back into jail.
Yeah, no, yeah. It's just so weird. You go up there and you give him your ID and you go up. He's like, we can't let you in. I'm like, well, why? And he's like, oh, your ID's not in here anymore. And I'm like, wow. And I left. My buddy that went in was going in with me that night. He goes, I talked to him the next day. He goes, you got really weird. I'm like, it was only because, before they wouldn't let me out, and now they won't let me in.
Won't let me in. Hello, can I get in, please?
Please let me in. Like, I just want to come in. As long as you let me back out after an hour, we're good.
Yeah. So back to the yets. Yeah. So, I mean, that was one of the things when I went into rehab, right? When I went into rehab and I sat there and I was listening to these people talk about all the shit that they did. And that was the hardest thing for me to understand, identify that I was because like I said before, I knew I was an alcoholic, but I wasn't an alcoholic of their type, right? Of their type.
I wasn't under a bridge.
Right. I wasn't under a bridge. I never stole from anybody. I never got a DUI. Right. Never got a DUI.
All the time.
Never got a DUI. I never got any of that shit.
Right.
But I lost probably the most.
But those are all yets. So every time you say that, just say yet.
Right.
Yeah. I have yet.
But I did lose probably one of the most valuable things to me, and that was the respect to my wife, the respect to my kids, and the respect to my son-in-laws. And that was the nail breaker that put me into rehab, is when they wouldn't take my phone calls anymore and would not talk to me anymore. That was my no, this has got to change. Don't mind the fact that my liver is failing and I'm about ready to die.
Don't worry about that shit.
Don't worry about that shit.
Matter.
I fuck it, because I was wanting to die anyways. And if I died that way, it was going to be okay because my depression was so fucking bad. I didn't care if I died, but God, don't let me drink away
the last bit of respect that I think you have for me.
And that's fucked up thinking. That is some fucked up thinking.
Alcoholic thinking.
Right. Well, that's why I didn't, for the longest time, I didn't believe that I was an alcoholic, because I had yet to get a DUI. Right. I had yet to ever get in any trouble. When I was drinking, I never lost a job.
Right. I'm perfectly fine.
I did all that. I mean, I cut off an ear.
Yeah.
While I was drinking.
I was talking about the bike ride. The bike ride of hell over the tracks.
I was such a good drunk driver. I guess I didn't get pulled over but I can't ride a bicycle across the set of railroad tracks.
Hold on. And you did not need any painkillers. They did it with whatever alcohol you had in your body.
Yeah.
That's all we need, son.
I wonder what that number was. It had to be terrible.
Well, it killed most people, I'm sure.
It had to be terrible, whatever it was.
Well, John, when you were on here last time, I got so enamored by Heather being here that I didn't really give you a chance to speak. I'm sorry.
I talked for an hour and 40 minutes.
That's a backhanded compliment if I ever heard it.
Hey, call it what you want. Heather, I knew John, right? I knew John. You guys know me. I love stories. I love hearing people's, and this may sound really, I want to preference this in two ways. I love hearing the pain that people went through to see where they are at now, because we all have a story, right? Some people are worse than others, and nobody's as bad as what's in your own brain, right? My struggle that I came out of was probably in me was brutal.
Well, of course
right?
it was. Our stuff's always paramount to someone else's because it's our experience.
It was my pain. So I love hearing stories of other people's pain because I take something out of it, and I hope to God that I can use that to help somebody else.
Well,
right?
we can also empathize too, because we've been there.
Yes.
And then when they hit something that hits home to us, like when they have that switch,
right.
when they see the light, when their darkness switch,
right. Right.
We go back to our own experience. Man, I can feel that.
Well, here I go.
Before we couldn't feel anything.
Talking about Heather again. I'm actually trying to get.
Well, go ahead. He was so enamored, John. You're all right, John, but by God.
If I said it once, I've said it 100 times. I will always be in her shadow.
Well, because she's taller than you.
I know.
She's taller,
and
than
I don't care that she wears high heels. It's fine with me.
Oh my gosh, she wears boots, not high heels.
Both.
Let's get it straight.
Both.
So we cut you off on telling your stories. Like I
We
said,
didn't. He did.
I did. And I'll take the hit.
Quite literally.
What?
We're done.
John, stop. Heather, how you doing?
We turned around and hit the key, and we were just like, over. We're done. I'm like,
John starts. So he hits the button. He's going to shut your mic off. Stop, Heather. How you doing? I'm going to shut John's mic off. John, stop it. John, stop.
So that's the reason why I love you to death, and two, I wanted to bring you back on because I know everybody's story, just like mine. I tell my story for a purpose, right? I tell it for a purpose so it helps. So I wanted to give you an opportunity to come back in and tell a little bit more of your story.
about.
I wanted that second question answered, which you did, the resentment towards God, because I tell you what, that is in the rooms of AA, and people come in because either Jesus got beat out, they got the Jesus beat out of them, or there's always some kind of, and I believe wholeheartedly that every biblical and theological heresy begins with a misconception of the nature of God. What is God? What's he like? Right. Not what we're taught. And now three of us have a certain experience, as John calls it, which is perfect, a relationship with the lover of our soul, the creator of our being. I have a relationship. It's a knowingness now. It's not a faith. It's not a belief. It's a knowingness. I know him.
And here's the thing that I tell somebody, you're not going to tell me what my relationship with my God's going to be like.
No.
Because
he's going to tell me.
I've had that conversation a lot.
There's
God
way.
determines the dictates.
God don't like when you do that. Bullshit. Shut the fuck up. How do you know what he doesn't like and like about me?
No,
you don't know.
My relationship.
No, that's what I tell people. Well, God don't like it when you say that stuff. Fuck you. How do you know?
I don't know how they know.
How do you know?
Who's the one that said fuck was a bad word?
I don't know.
No, neither.
Do you know what fuck stands for?
Society says that.
I have no idea.
Society says it's not appropriate.
Yeah, society. Right.
Fornication under consent of king. That's what the original. That's what it originally stands for.
Fornication
Under consent of the king. Well, I've heard that. There's also for unlawful carnal knowledge.
Something like that.
Wait, what is shit?
I use it just because I don't have a better word.
Shit.
Do you know those of us that
what does shit stand
they
for?
say science
Stack
says
high in transit. And shit.
Science says that those of us that cuss a lot are actually smarter than most.
Why? Because I can say.
And also, John, those when somebody like if you're debating with somebody, you're talking with somebody, they start raising their voice, they're getting louder. That's a sign of low intelligence.
It's very much.
I'll tell you what.
That's a true fact.
If you're talking about debates, as soon as you call me a name and I don't care what it is, you've lost.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
You have absolutely lost. And I don't care what that name is, whether it's a cocksucker or a narcissist or whatever.
True.
Like even if it's true, dirty or not, clean or not, what it doesn't matter.
You weren't there when I did it. Shut the fuck up.
Prove it.
1,000%.
$20 is $20.
1,000%.
Lips and tongues are tongues. Shut up.
How's your sponsee doing, Rob?
Which one?
Well, he asked me a question. You still never got me.
Well, motherfucker, go! God damn!
You haven't shut up long enough for me to go.
I ain't saying another word for 2 minutes.
I don't know how you can push this shit out there.
2 minutes. I'm not saying anything. Ready, go.
So anyway, when we were talking earlier about me coming back, we were talking about yets, right? Because I told you that's what I kind of wanted to talk about a little bit. I feel like that's what God has put on my heart. Is about those yets. So if you're out there and you're still, running amok, whether you're drinking or using, You're dealing dope like I was doing. You know, I knew a lot of folks that were manufacturing or whatever, and you have yet to get busted. You have yet to get caught. You might want to start thinking about trying to turn your life around, because even after almost, and I'm not trying to take a front, but I'm coming up on 22 years, I'm just a couple of months shy, so I mean, it's way more than 21 years of sobriety. All of those, all but one of those charges I've been able to, there's two different avenues to get rid of those things. You can either get them expunged or you can get them reduced from felonies to misdemeanors. Unless you have a Class A felony.
But you need a pardon. You do.
I do.
Yeah.
Correct. Absolutely correct. Because, thank you, Nancy Reagan and her war on drugs. I always say that. I don't know if it's true or not, but they linked, drug dealing. And it doesn't matter if your buddy gives you $20 and has you go to get the connection, go to the connection's house and you leave there and you get caught. That's still dealing, right? You're buying prescription meds on the street from somebody, that is still dealing dope. If you're going to your sister-in-law's house and, she's giving you prescriptions that aren't, that aren't yours, that is still considering dealing, right? If the law wants to bind you up, you can, and you can't get rid of that. Like that doesn't go away, and you lose all of your rights, for life, unless you can get a pardon from your governor of whatever state you're in. That's the way the law is written. So, I've been trying to do that for a long time. You're eligible after 10 years from your release of custody. And one of those yets is like I mentioned last time, I've yet to go to prison. Right. But under the current administration in the state of California, everything was basically dropped. Everybody that had an open pardon case in the state of California was closed, and you had to go and refile and reopen. And then everything went through the parole board, the California parole board. I went through that in a month. Well, the parole board probably looked at my stuff and was like, after I refiled and everything, was like, this dude ain't ever been on parole. He's got this one charge left. It was one time. There's no violent crime. There's no any of that stuff. I mean, I meet all the requirements, and I've met all the requirements for the longest time, but have yet. There's one of those yets. Every time, a couple of times a year, there'll be a press announcement, because I always look, and the governor, issued a bunch more pardons, and I always look, because I know it's around Christmas or Easter or sometimes New Year's, just depending, sometimes Thanksgiving, depending on the year. So I'm always looking at that time, and oh yep, there's a press release, and I go look, and every time I get down to my last initial, my heart starts to race, and skip right on by, and I'm like, and then I read them. I start reading them. I start reading who got pardoned for what, when because it lists what their crime was, when it happened, whatever. But
it doesn't look as good to pardon, one last thing, so you'll get your guns and go, so you don't have to just bow hunt anymore. Well, it looks good when the governor pardons some no good, someone with, more.
To me, I believe that everybody deserves a second chance.
Absolutely.
Hands down. When I very first filed, that was one of my biggest things, is I wanted to be able to go back to, hunting and doing the stuff that I grew up doing with my dad. That was one of those last things, the day he died, we were going hunting that day, so I wanted to be able to teach my son to do those, those kinds of things and that kind of stuff. Where I'm at now, it's, I've been denied jobs. The state of California has now, made it illegal for you to ask those kinds of questions, your criminal history and whatever. But I was sitting in a job interview, and they got to the last page, and they literally at this job, they literally said to me, "Who do you know here?" And I said, "Well, why?" And they said, "Because you would have never made it through this part to this." Made it through this far.
The first vetting process.
Yeah. You wouldn't have made it through the first vetting process. I can't remember exactly how they worded it or whatever, to even get here. So who do you know? And I said, well, I know him and I know him. And this is a roundtable interview, right? I said, I know that guy and I know that guy and I know this guy and this guy and this guy. And they're like, well, we still can't hire you because you're a felon, and I'm just like, okay, fine. Which is really funny, because the next job that I got, I was going into that facility when I was driving trucks. So I'm just like, hey,
did you ever get your hazmat?
No, I didn't.
You can't.
No, but I have my, but I have my TWIC card.
What?
I do.
So that doesn't make sense to me.
So correct. So
You have your what card?
It's transportation workers identification credential.
It's a federal clearance.
It's a federal clearance. It's the same thing as a TSA fast pass. I can use my TWIC card as a TSA fast pass.
That's what I
can.
use.
I qualify for my hazmat license.
Right. It's all his federal. It's a federal clearance.
It's a federal clearance. So because I have my Class A license the next time, because I wouldn't do it in the middle, but the next time my driver's license comes up, and I don't know what that date is, I'd have to look on the card. I can add an endorsement to my license if I wanted to add my hazmat. All I got to do is go down and get my fingerprints done. It's the same.
The federal clearance is done. That's what that TWIC is.
Yes, but they're separate. So
no, I understand that. But it's the same clearance.
Yeah, it is the same clearance, but you have to go through the process twice.
Right.
And they don't even want you to make the appointments the same over there at TSA. Like you got to go make your hazmat appointment and then come back again for your
Right.
TWIC appointment. But yeah, so I meet all of the requirements that I can. I can drive down the road with a load of gasoline that Larry gives me a job, and I can haul
But you can't go hunt with a rifle.
but I can. But that's right, I can't.
And he can drive a truck that he could drive through the fucking Capitol and burn the whole fucking place down.
But he can't go shoot
But
Bambi with
goddamn,
a
don't give him a gun.
mag.
Right.
Fucking stupid.
Yeah, I know. Those are just things that I've never understood about the process, right? So, back to that. Yet, that is yet to happen. Do I hope that it happens someday? Absolutely. I mean, maybe somebody from the governor's office will hear this and be like, maybe somebody from a news outlet.
Right.
Who knows? I don't care. It is what it is. I'm not. All I really want to say about that is I'm not that person that I was anymore. I am absolutely not who I was when I was out there running amok doing those things.
None of us are, though. I mean, you had to make a change to get where we're at. 22 years of sobriety. There's no way you could still be that same.
No fronts.
Okay. 21.95.
No, you're right. No fronts, baby. No fronts.
I'm not a dope dealer anymore. I don't do
I've
fronts.
never even heard that before till last night.
Well, you saw last
last night?
Yeah. First time I ever seen
no
that.
fronts.
No fronts?
Some of the sponsors, here, giving their coin, but they wouldn't give it to them. Here, happy birthday in 2 days when you actually have.
One was 1 day.
No.
Yeah,
one of them was 1 day.
Well, tomorrow
you can't have this till tomorrow.
That's right.
Yeah.
No fronts.
No fronts.
That's absolutely.
No fronts. Oh, that's been around for a long time.
You know what? Honestly, 3 years in this. Well, I can't say 3 years now. It's 2.84.
That's
2.4.
I got 5,000 in 10 days.
I'm like
I can't
10
have
days
fronts.
shot.
Yeah. So 10 days shy of your 22?
No. April.
So you know what's funny is our group, we got 3 birthdays back to back to back. It's all 3 months in a row. Kevin, Brad, and then me. Yeah. So Kevin just had his, Brad is next, and then my big 3. You know what's funny is I was talking to.
We had Jason too. Jason
started 7. Yeah,
well,
sorry.
The other Jason got 6 the week before.
Jason Allen?
No, Jason.
Oh, sorry. Well, Jason Allen's been on here.
Yeah, Jason.
So
is the other Jason.
Jason R.
Yeah.
But I thought he just got 7.
He just got 6. Jason Allen got 7.
Okay.
Jason R got 6.
I just had this conversation last night about that 5 year to 10 year. You don't see a lot of people in this program
because life gets really, really good.
So I just had this conversation with Jim, one of the guys that spoke. I keep saying last night, but this was 2 weeks ago. One of the guys that spoke, because he just celebrated his 7th,
right.
and I asked him about that, and he goes, "No, the last 2 years have been really difficult." He goes, "But I doubled down on my." He said, "I doubled down on my when I felt it." He said, "I doubled down on my commitments." He says, "I just because you everything just gets so good."
So that's when in that area right there is when I did the other thing. I reverted back and was hardly going to meetings at all and dry drunken for a long time and just I white knuckled it. Where I said last time,
but your first. Like my first 3 years, I was
I was like 6 or 6 or 7.
Involved.
Yeah, very
buried yourself.
I buried myself. I was basically working 2 full-time jobs. I was working full-time at work, and then I was volunteering full-time.
So the foundation we laid, like you and I did, then our early
the cornerstone
was set, baby. You got it.
The cornerstone.
You know what though?
But I've never gone out. I've never gone anywhere. I've always been in.
But it doesn't stop the isms from coming back because again, we are granted a daily reprieve depending upon what, Rob?
Our spiritual condition.
No, wait. the maintenance of our
Maintenance.
spirit.
Well, I don't
The
like that.
You don't
maintenance.
like that word.
I like the growth.
Right.
But that's what it says.
That's
You know what?
That
It
is
was
what it
shortly into my recovery that I said, there's no way I could do this. No way I could do it like you guys done it every night. If I'd have done it that way, I would have hated AA.
Which is fine. All you need to
hated
do, and there are I think 13 musts in the book. It was get a sponsor, work the steps.
Right.
So let me put
all
this.
you had.
This is what I tell guys in the jail all the time. Right.
I get to leave, bitches.
No. Well,
I don't wear.
I actually okay.
I don't wear somebody else's underwear.
If you're gonna say that, I tell them this. The only difference between me and you is one, I'm not wearing somebody else's underwear, and two, I get to go home tonight.
Right.
Hopefully. Right. But yeah, so because other than that, I don't know, guys in jail, they put all the boxers in one big washing machine, and you don't know who's coming out, who was wearing those last week. Right. So, but I try to tell them all the time that if you put half as much effort into your recovery as you put into your disease, whatever, just half.
Right.
And if you stop and you think for just a minute, I know from personal experience, there was times, and I never really did this with alcohol to the extreme, but I definitely did it with the dope. I could remember that there was times where you were talking about that anxiety of not having it earlier today, where that anxiety would spike so high that my hands would clench, and all I could think of was, how do I make this feeling go away? And I need to get high right now, or I need to have a drink right now, or I need for whatever this, I have to make this go away now.
Whatever it takes.
And if you take half of that, just half of that, and you put that much effort into your recovery. So I had 20, years of drinking and using. So I knew that I was told early on that I had to put that much effort in there. So if I was an everyday drinker and user, I had to do something that had to do with recovery every single day. Right. I had to, because that's what I had to do at the time to get where I am today.
I think the reason why I bring it
and
up,
I had to do that. Absolutely.
but that was your personality. You had to do it.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I want to make darn sure we understand, because one of the things, and we talked, and I thought about this after one of our podcasts. Rob, you have a good thing. You say this. I know you, and I know why you say it. You have to do it this way. You have to do it this way. You have to do it this way. One of the things that I know people have a hard thing about AA is that nobody likes to be told you have to do this. Bill Wilson didn't tell anybody in this book, this is how you have to do it. This is the way it's worked for people, right? This is the way.
Further on page 29, it says, further on a clear-cut directions how we ever covered. Further on.
And on page 164, it says this book is meant to be suggestive only.
Right.
Yeah, so on the bottom, and then there's 13 musts. You must do this or you won't get this. You must do.
Yeah. Well, it just says, says you must or you won't get this.
Right.
Right. It doesn't say that you're not going to get the program. It says, if you want this, you must do this first.
Correct.
And I just thought
That's
about
what that
this
means.
because in our podcast before, when we were talking about triggers, we were saying you have to do this. You have to do this. And you know what?
You don't have to do anything.
No. And you're right. Right. But I think for us, and for our listeners that are listening to that, listen, we believe it's what you have to do, right? And the reason why I say it that way is because over a period of time, it's been tested and it's been trued that this is the right way. You talk to anybody that jumps in and out of AA, it's because they didn't do it the way we talk about doing it. You listen to those guys that spoke the other night, all those other sponsors that were talking about their sponsees, they all said they jumped in, they did the work, they did this, they did this, they did this. Nobody in this program have I ever spoke to so far are successful at this program that didn't follow this book. What are you two you two are going
We're
at
listening.
it in your books. One of you is digging it. You're probably going to the same fucking page. But you guys are digging into something. Rob's brain is about ready to explode over there. He's trying to find something.
No. I'm not finding anything.
No.
We must or it kills us.
Right. But once again, I know your personality, Rob, and I know how you speak.
Yeah.
But what I want to make sure of is that people that listen to this understand that the reason why, and I'm adamant that way too,
Passionate.
right?
We're
I'm
passionate.
very, very passionate, and I'm that way too, right? But listen, if this program works, if you work it,
Absolutely.
if you work it, if you don't work it, you're going to be drunk, right? And the reason why I'm okay with saying that is because in the 3 years I've been in this program, almost 3 years, I've watched it happen multiple times. People with 20 years, what are you two looking for?
We're listening to you.
I'm listening.
Bullshit. You two fuckers are digging into that book trying to find something that I said that you want to bring back up.
No.
Oh.
I'm just,
I was trying to find something that was going to prove your point.
Oh. Well, I wish you would.
Which one was? What are we looking for? I'll tell you what's that.
Rob.
Give me the quote.
I forgot what his point was.
No, my point is Rob said, when Rob and I was on a tirade a couple weeks back, we were saying you have to. If you want what we have, we really suggest you need to do it this way.
You do what we've done.
Right. If you don't want this happiness and the what do you
keep doing what you're doing.
Keep doing it the way you're doing it, right? You're just going to get what you
And when
give
John
to
talks
it.
about this book is meant to be suggestive only, it's just like jumping out of an airplane. We suggest you take a parachute. We suggest you pull the ripcord or fucking hit the ground.
You landed something soft.
Well, then another thing.
We don't live in a feather factory.
Back to where we were, a little while ago. If we go another couple more pages on to page 33.
Love it.
Page 33. We have seen the truth demonstrated again and again. And in quotations, once an alcoholic, always an alcoholic. Commencing to drink after a period of sobriety, we are in short time as bad as ever. If we are planning to stop drinking, there must be no reservation of any kind, nor any lurking notion that someday we will be immune to alcohol.
Right.
And that brings up the last part of what, my story, which is I tell people, I say this all the time again. Can I drink today? Absolutely. I could have a drink today and I would probably be fine. And in really, really short order, I'm going to have 2. And in short order, it's going to be a 6-pack, right? And then in super, super short order, I'm going to start to, feel a little bloated because beer's not going to do it for me. And I'm going to go back to Jack. We love Jack.
Love Jack.
Jack has all.
Sponsored by
Jack was my
Tennessee
first sponsor.
whiskey.
Jack was my first sponsor. He had all of my dirty secrets right back in the day. But anyway, so then it's not going to take long that I'm going to be having fun because in the beginning it's always really, really fun and you're having a good time. And then in really short order, I'm going to get really, really drunk. And then I'm going to want to party some more because I'm having so much fun.
We're going to get a bag.
And then I'm going to get a bag. And once I put that in my body, it's over.
Game over.
And then the only thing left for me is jails, institutions, and death at that point, because I will stop at absolutely nothing. If I put methamphetamine in my body again, that I've said this 100 times too. I know that I do not have another recovery in me. Hands down. I cannot, I'm not that guy that's going to walk into a meeting and say, I got one day.
Right.
After all of this time, I would never come back. You guys would never see me again. I would disappear off the face of the earth. I would go back to being homeless like I was in that last year. I promised my bosses when they hired me, I told them my whole story. Because not only, we were talking about, the TWIC card and all of that other stuff that where I work, we were regulated by Homeland Security, right? Where I work at. So I promised my bosses a long time ago, if I ever took a drink again, that I would just walk in the door and hand in my keys and walk out. I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I'm not going to do it because I know where I'm going to be. I've been there.
Short time.
Yeah. In a very, very, very short amount of time because I have done it enough and moved enough and, tried enough and tried to control enough and done all of that stuff and, got clean, but never really sober so many times before that I know what's going to happen. I know me because me, John, this guy right here, I don't like paying bills and I don't like, having to get up and go to work every day. And I don't like having,
we still don't like authority like we never did.
No. And I'm still kind of a loner. I still like to be by myself and I would get loaded really quick and be done. I'm just done.
Scary thought process, though. I mean,
But that's one of the biggest reasons
that's what
why
keeps me sober.
That's why I don't.
Right,
that's why I don't get sober. That's why.
And I think when I say that kind of stuff to my wife, she gets scared when I
God
say
keeps you
that.
sober.
No. Well, yes, yes,
Words matter.
it does. But it scares my
Contingent
wife when
upon
I
my-
hear.
But what he just did was something we were not able to do before we worked these steps and had God consciousness. We were not able to play the tape.
No.
We were not able to see
the
that
tape.
Same
and
thing
realize
with
that it's
that-
going to break us.
Same thing. As soon as they set that drink in front of me at the dinner the other night, I instantly recoiled. As soon as I saw it, I was like,
Like a hot flame. Like, ooh.
Yeah, I was like, oh.
You know, I do that every once in a while.
And then I laugh about
and then
it.
I'll grab it and I'll go take a big old sniff.
I'd
Set
laugh
it back down.
I don't know if I wouldn't bother me, but God damn it, I never even thought about that till John just said it.
The only thing I've
I don't
sniffed
know.
was a can of Copenhagen. It's like, damn, why'd I put that shit
The
in my
last
mouth?
time I was,
I don't know. I've never done that. I don't know if I want to.
I opened the freezer at the house and there's a
What does it
bottle.
smell like?
Did I just contradict myself?
I don't know.
Who knows? You said so much. I can't. I don't know.
No.
I don't know that I've done
mean,
that.
I haven't.
I never even thought to do that. Why we?
Yeah.
Because I've never smelled it. The only thing
I didn't have that thought.
but I've never
I
smelled
don't know.
it.
I
I
never
don't
smelled
know.
it.
I don't even know. I
But
couldn't
why
tell-
don't we?
I couldn't tell you what Jack
But why
Daniels
did I
smells
just
like.
say it?
Oh,
Why
okay.
did I just say it though?
I know what it smells
I
like.
wouldn't want to do that.
I know what day old
Because it might.
Don't fucking say trigger. 'Cause that's what I'm saying. I don't want that contradiction being run out there.
No, there ain't no such thing as a goddamn trigger. Well, there is.
But
He's
no,
a horse of
He's a
blood.
horse and he's stuffed in museums.
motherfucker.
No, I
Hey,
just
so Gene Autry was a singing cowboy. Roy Rogers was the king of cowboys, correct?
I don't.
Yes.
So where was John Wayne?
He's the third. And he was
The
the third
Duke.
one.
What the fuck are we talking about? Let's
Anyway.
get the fuck out of here.
Trigger.
You missed my fucking question.
What was the
my
question?
sponsor? I'm talking to my sponsor
I
right
thought you didn't
now.
have a
What
sponsor.
was the question? We're brothers now.
Yes.
What's the question?
What I just talked about. I said I would. I don't think I'd ever want to smell it. Am I fucking saying that would be a trigger?
No, you just don't want to smell it.
You just don't want to smell it.
But yeah, but the thought that went through my head when I said it was, I don't know how I would
So
react.
the biggest question is,
Then go smell
why
it.
did I want to?
Yeah. Hey,
Well, I just thought about it. I'm
dude,
like,
we are a
I
walking
haven't thought of
contradiction.
it.
We are alcoholics who do not drink, have not drank for almost 22 years, coming up on 14 years, coming up on 3 years. We are alcoholics that do not. We are walking contradictions.
Now you make me want to go smell it.
Go smell it. Let's go smell it. Oh, crack that bottle.
You
I'm
know
gonna
it's
smell it now.
downstairs.
I want to smell it.
I don't want to.
Hey, pull my finger. Let's
I don't
smell
want
it.
to. I guess that's what I don't
Let's go.
fucking want to.
Let's go
I
smell
don't-
it.
No,
I want to
don't
smell it
want
now.
to.
I want
good-
to smell
good
it now.
point,
Fuck
good
it. I'm gonna go
point, good
smell it. Let's go.
Well, hold on. Let me pull down my pants first.
No.
Wow.
Let's get. the
Hold
fuck-
on 1 second.
Hold
One
on.
second. 1 second.
John
1
found
second. 1
something.
second. I ended every A meeting that I used to do at the original fellowship with this for years and years and years, and I want to do it really quick because, well, first off, we're not affiliated with AA in any way, but we do read its book. So on page 164, it says, our book is meant to be suggestive only. We realize we know only a little. God will constantly disclose more to you and to us. Ask him in your morning meditation, which you can do each day for the man who is still sick. The answers will come if your own house is in order. But obviously you cannot transmit something that you haven't got. See to it that your relationship with him is right, and great events will come to pass for you and countless others. This is the great fact for us. Abandon yourself to God as you understand God. Admit your faults to him and to your fellows. Clear away the wreckage of your past. Give freely of what you find, and join us. We shall be with you in the fellowship of the Spirit, and you will surely meet some of us as you trudge the road of happy destiny. Trudge the road of happy destiny. May God bless you and keep you until then. Thanks for having me on, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us today.
We hope you learned something today that will help you.
If you did not, come back next week and we'll try again.
If you like what we heard, give us a 5-star review. If you don't like what you heard, kiss my... You can't say that, can you? Anyway, if you don't like what you heard, go ahead and tell us that too. We'll see what we can improve. We probably won't change nothing, but do it anyway.
Hey, thanks, Rob. Come back next week and hopefully something will be different and something will sink in. Take
This
care.
has been Recovery Unfiltered.